morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. I have 11 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. I am just thrilled to be with you this morning. I'm Mitzi Ziegner. I'm the Associate Director of the Tlpdc, and we have joining us and collaborating with us today, Stephanie Lamar from RISE. She and I go way back. She's going to, we're thrilled about this collaboration about teaching with intention and cultivating well-being in teaching and learning on our campus. That is something that Stephanie, as far as I'm concerned, is really an expert at. She was actually our son, who is now 17. She was his kindergarten teacher at Murphy Elementary. And I have seen her be just a phenomenal educator who really has a heart for her students for many, many years. And now Texas Tech, the Office of Risk Intervention and Safety Education is so lucky to have her as a program coordinator. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, and she's going to present for you all this morning about a topic that she's really passionate about. So, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Mitzi. I appreciate you having me and asking me to help with this. And I am very, very excited. So thank you all for attending this presentation. I'm going to talk about the title and then go into it a little bit more in depth in a couple of slides down the way. But the title of my presentation is called Teaching with Intention, Cultivating Well-Being in Learning Environments, Strategies Adapted from the Texas Wellbeing Initiative at UT Austin. So I'm very excited about this. This is something that I'm extremely passionate about. I feel like I've practiced it throughout my teaching career and here as a staff member at RISE. So I'm very excited to get to present these things to you today. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, I kind of already introduced myself, but I'm Stephanie Lamar. I am a program manager here with RISE, which stands for Risk Intervention and Safety Education. I am so excited to be a part of this department. It's a phenomenal department. I love and I'm passionate about everything that we do here, all the topics that we talk about. Before I was with RISE, I was actually a school teacher for 25 years, mainly working with young children in the beginning, and then moving over to this Child Development Research Center here on campus. And as I was teaching there, I was able to get to teach and work with student assistants in my classroom and just in the center in general. I also was able to work with lab students, students that were there learning to be teachers. And so I got to work with them and visit with them about all the things that we did at the CDRC. So I might a lot of times refer back to kind of things that I did and experiences I had and how I embedded well-being when I was teaching young children and working with college students. So I know it's kind of a big difference, but definitely it's something that you can take and think about and then see how maybe you could implement it in your classroom virtually or in person. Let's see here. My goal for this presentation is to be able to help you learn how to make just very small changes, as many as you want, and being able to embed well-being in your learning environment. I do know that Texas Tech is working extremely hard on a mental health initiative called Beyond OK here with RISE. And so I'm very excited about it because it's something I'm very passionate about. I want to help create a culture here on campus so that we can reach out to students, let them know we're here for them, that they're being heard, that they matter, because that's really what they want the most of, is that to know that they're being heard, that they matter, that what they're doing is meaningful. But in order to do that, I think we all have to work together. It's just not the RISE department or student affairs department. It's all of us working together, coming together, students, faculty, everyone coming together to be part of it and to help embed that well-being in our campus culture. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next slide. So teaching with intention, this is a little bit more about the title of my slide, and I wanted you to know kind of where it's coming from. So teaching with intention, cultivating well-being and learning environments, collaborating with university faculty to support student mental health. And these are strategies adapted from the Texas Wellbeing Initiative at UT Austin. I didn't even know this was around. I looked into it. It is great information. I have all the information at the end of my presentation on where you can find the UT Austin Wellbeing Initiative if you're interested in looking into it further and seeing what they do on their campus. We've worked closely with UT Austin to take their program and to adapt it here on our campus, here at Texas Tech. Definitely the UT program is on a larger scale because this was a grant-funded project for them. So they were able to do a little bit more with it and those kind of things. But what we do know for sure is that students who perceive their campus as being supportive of mental health, which is huge right now, and well-being are more likely to reach out for help. So I believe that by creating this community here on campus is something that we can do. It's everyone's job. We can all jump in and create this environment for students. And like I said, at the end of the presentation, you will be able to see the resources for UT Austin there. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next slide. So our project overview, this is kind of what we're wanting to complete, is the purpose of the initiative is to focus on prevention of mental health issues and promotion of well-being. So we at RISE focus on a lot of prevention education. I'm going to talk a little bit more about RISE and what we do here and what we offer here at the end of my presentation. So if you're needing to know more information about us, so we are prevention education. So we're focusing on prevention of mental health issues and well-being. We want to support faculty members and departments in considering students' well-being when planning instruction. We want to help answer questions, have resources available to you when you are needing it or needing to reach out. Also, we are wanting to improve student outcomes by working with faculty to make shifts, small shifts. It doesn't have to be anything huge all at once. You might already be doing it, but just maybe some different ideas, things that you can do to embed well-being and positive mental health in your design and delivery in your classroom, whether it's virtual or in person. As we all know, mental health is a huge topic in general with students and in people in general. We know that it's even more so today with COVID-19. It's crazy to think that about a year ago today, we were all scrambling to work from home, and what does that mean? And this is confusing. And as an adult, it was confusing to me and what's happening. And I can only imagine what students were thinking. So what I'm asking you as professors to please continue what you're doing with your content. I mean, we don't want you to ever change that. You are the experts, you know what you're doing. You embed that in them and give them all the opportunity to learn what you are going to teach them and implement. And so that's not what we're asking you to do, to change any of that. I mean, you are the experts, but what our goal is to help put ideas and strategies in place to help students not only academically, but holistically as a whole student. Like, how can we help them mentally? How can we give them resources? What can we do to make our classrooms feel safe and that they're being heard? So that is the goal here in our project overview. We want to give them a sense of well-being and a sense of being validated and a sense of belonging, because definitely those, when you embed those conditions in your classroom, students are going to be more willing to respond to you, more willing to do the work you ask them to do, more open to learning. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. And why? Why are we wanting to do this? There's a strong relationship between mental health and college success. I know most of you know that. It's not any news that's new, but definitely sometimes I think we just forget about those kind of things. We just get going, we're trying to get all of our content taught, and then sometimes you have to step back and look at what's going on. And I mean, I know I did that as a teacher with my lab students and my student assistants. I was trying to make sure that they were getting everything that they needed to get done and learn everything they needed to learn. And then I forgot. Sometimes I just need to listen and hear them and make sure that I am meeting their needs and what they need. So just kind of stepping back and doing that. Students with mental health concerns are more likely to have a lower grade point average and a higher probability of dropping out. I mean, that is a huge concern. And it is widely accepted that health and well-being are essential elements for effective learning, like we've talked about. And it is important that as an entire campus community, we engage our students in practices to promote mental health well-being. So it's kind of all of our jobs here. It's everyone's job. I know that there are times in all of our lives that we need help. I know I've needed help several times as a college student, as an adult, young adult, now. I mean, we all need help. And as far as what we can do is we can normalize the conversations on mental health and create a supportive environment. You know, reducing shame, secrecy, and stigma so students will reach out for us to help is our goal. We want students to know that asking for help demonstrates strength and not weakness. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. And we need to help them when they are needing the most help. I know as a college student when I was in school, I mean, I graduated in '94 here from Tech, and those kind of things weren't really talked about here, you know, a whole lot. I mean, or maybe I just didn't know where the resources were. So we're going to talk about things that you can do as professors to let the students know that, hey, I'm here. I have resources for you. And this is what you can do if you need help. Just giving them that sense of, you know what, I can reach out for help, and just normalize it, I think is the biggest thing. Yes, so that is on that slide. I'm going to go to the next slide. And why else? So having a professor who cared about me as a person, made me excited about learning, and encouraged me to pursue my dreams relates to 2 times more likely to being engaged at work and thriving at life. That's huge. That's really neat to see that. And I have on my next slide a little video that's really, really neat. It's a college student that's explaining something that happened to her in class, and where she felt she had a professor that actually cared about her as a person, and she was in awe. So I'm going to turn to that one, and then I'm going to play that and let you hear it.
Stephanie, I think some people are having a little bit of trouble hearing.
Okay.
I don't know if maybe if you turned up the sound on your end, if that would be helpful. I do hear it, but it's very faint.
It's very low. Okay.
Try
One second.
Okay, no worries.
Technical difficulties here.
Wow,
we've
all been there.
It's not my strongest forte here.
No worries at all.
I am not sure how to do that on my end.
It says there's a share audio. When you share your screen, do you see the share audio?
Share audio. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Where would it, on video settings maybe?
Let's see. So when you click on share screen, let's see. Okay, in the audio button, maybe right above this. Let's try that and see.
Okay.
If you stop sharing your screen and then click share again, when you have the option to pick your screen, in the bottom right corner, it'll have a share sound option. So you'll need to stop sharing and then share again.
Okay.
So stop sharing, stop share. Okay. And then
we'll restart the share, right?
Share screen again. And then go ahead and click share.
It should it was before you hit share, there was a checkbox to share audio. In the same dialog box where you're clicking which screen you want to share, you can also check box share audio.
Share audio. Oh, I see. I'm so sorry. Thank y'all for
we're all learning. It's great.
Thank you for this. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. I apologize. Can I try that again?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's try that again.
Okay, so I just had a class and my professor was asking everyone how they were, and we expressed, a lot of us, that our hearts were heavy because of the ruling of Breonna Taylor today. And we actually wound up, it's a research class, but we wound up having a really important conversation about white supremacy and how to undo that and what that looks like in a social work setting. And it was actually a really great conversation. And then when it kind of came to a close, she was like, all right, we have an hour left of class, and what I want y'all to do is get off of Zoom, turn off your computers, don't do homework, don't listen to the news, and actually use the next hour to like take care of yourselves. And y'all, I have never felt more cared for in an academic space ever in my life. This is the first time that I've ever felt that my professor actually cares about me as a human being. And I just I'm so grateful and want more of that and wanted to share because it felt really good.
So that's pretty awesome. That's exciting to hear, like what students are wanting and what they're needing, and that they are being heard, and that their feelings are validated through professors. So I really like that. I wanted to share that with you. That's a really good one.
Stephanie, I'm so glad that we got that worked out on the audio, because it was very moving and very, yeah, it's important to remember that all of the things that are going on in the world, our students are experiencing them just as we are, and through their own unique lenses and perspectives. So to communicate.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, exactly. And I appreciate y'all being patient with me on that end. And we're going to actually talk about that, about showing students that you're human and that you do make mistakes, and that'll be coming up. So that's really good. So the next slide is, I mean, it's just statistics, but it's there. This is the mental health challenges of Texas Tech students. we were able to receive this information from the 2020 National Collegiate Health Assessment administered at TTU February of 2020. So this is actually even before the pandemic. So just think about maybe what it could be right now. So basically 26.4% of Texas Tech students indicated a positive suicidal screening on the Suicide Behavior Questionnaire revised screening. 39.4% of Texas Tech students reported that they had been diagnosed with a mental health condition. 27.7% of Tech students reported that they had been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And this one is just huge. It just blows my mind away. 74.7% of Texas Tech students rated their overall stress level as moderate or high. So now it's going to be higher because of the things that they've had to endure through COVID. And we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up. Nationally, mental health, of course, of college students appears to be working. So these are the proportion of students reporting like suicide attempts, severe depression, moderate to severe depression, and moderate to severe anxiety. So you can definitely see how it has gone up throughout the years, 2007, 2013, up to 2018. So, I mean, it's definitely risen, and it's something that we need to be mindful of and help with this crisis, because there is a crisis. Now, on top of all of that, the statistics aren't always real fun to talk about, but now we have COVID on top of that. So the impact of COVID from the Healthy Minds Network 2020 concerns. These are the things that students are worried about, concerned about, concerns about their future. So more than 60% reported being extremely concerned about people they cared for contracting COVID-19. I myself have a daughter that's a sophomore in college. She calls me almost every week and was like, "Mom, did you get your shot yet? Can you get your shot?" So I know this is true because I have a daughter that calls me. My oldest daughter is a nurse in Parkland. So she's been in the middle of it all. She's seen things that a 24-year-old shouldn't be seeing at that time. You know, it's hard on them. So I do know that it is real, that students are concerned about other people, about their family members, their friends. Also, it's a stressful time right now. So more stressful financial situations. 66% reported stressful financial situations due to the pandemic. Going back to my daughter, Brianne, she thought she had a job. She did not have a job due to COVID. So she struggled a little bit because she says, "Mom, I can't even get a job and I'm always having to ask you for money and I'm really sorry. But please, I'm trying." And so they're trying and they don't have the means to necessarily get a job just because of the impact of COVID. 60% reported greater difficulty accessing mental health care. It's just hard right now, and it's a concern they have, and we need help and we need to get them all the help that we can get, but they're having trouble finding that or accessing that information. 31% reported academics being impaired by mental health struggles, which is up from 22% in the fall. So this is real. This is why I'm doing this. They are needing help and we're here to help them. Effective learning environments is taking into consideration the whole student and embedding conditions for well-being. So you can create a more effective learning environment. So we're on the next slides, we're going to talk about what we can do to embed these conditions. These are the conditions for well-being that we're going to talk about. So there's social connectedness, it's my favorite, mindfulness and stress reduction, growth mindset, resilience, gratitude, inclusivity, self-compassion and empathy, and life purpose. So these are the things we're going to talk about. Let's begin with the first one. The first one is conditions for well-being, social connectedness. I love this part. I love connecting with students. As a teacher, it was my favorite thing. So social connectedness has a direct effect on college student retention. That's important. We make that connection. We're able to help them stay in class, be involved, get the education that they need. Just doing these things, these small things, can build connections between faculty and students. Students just want to know that they matter, that they're heard. Just fostering that sense of belonging in your classroom, whether it's virtually or in person, and showing your human side as a leader is something that students are craving and needing. So here are just a few things that that's recommended. The first one is just something easy, like smile and greet students when they come in. Let them know that you see them, that there they are, and they're there, they're ready to learn, and you're ready to teach them. Maybe carry on informal conversations before class. Talk a little bit, ask them how they're doing. I know a big one, and I've heard of a lot of professors doing this, is play music before class, and let the students choose. I have a video with Dr. Sarah Brinker coming up, and she talks a lot about this. So kind of keep that in the back of your head, in the back of your mind, lock it in your brain, like I always tell my students to do, because she has some really good information on what she does in her classroom. Start class by letting a few students share one wow, pow, or chow. I love this. I think it's really neat. So a wow, as you can see over here, is something great that happened in the past week. Just anything, just a few here and there, like tell me something you did or something great that happened. But then we also want to normalize it, because everything's not always great, correct? I mean, things happen. I mean, weeks are hard. So maybe pow, something disappointed that happened in the past week, and maybe like just talking about it, letting them get it out, letting them be heard. This one is a lot of fun. I know that we're not really eating out a lot, or, you know, some people are choosing not to. Some people are getting takeout, or maybe getting it and going to the park and eating. But chow is a great new restaurant experience. Lubbock is very well known for all of the restaurants here. There's new ones popping up all the time. So just talking about that, just making them feel welcome, like they're at home, like you're welcome here. Let's talk, let's have fun. We have lots of learning to do, but let's get to know each other, and let's, you know, just quickly at the beginning. It doesn't have to be anything that takes a long time, but just, you know, quick conversations. Another one is allowing students to go over homework in pairs or groups. So I think that's very beneficial. Just seeing each other's perspectives of the homework assignment, kind of maybe what was taken from one and the other, and then just kind of like comparing them or putting the ideas together, getting different views on it. And then the last one is close class with something positive. For example, have students share something they learned or something that they are more interested in learning. That's a fun one. And then I get to tell one of my very favorite stories about social connectedness. And this is a Nathan. And Nathan is Mitzi's little boy. And I had him, like she said, in kindergarten, and I love Nathan so much. I loved all of my children, but this is one of my very favorite stories, because I was able to help Nathan feel comfortable about coming to school. Nathan, of course, as any kindergarten student would feel, it was a little bit anxious about starting school. I taught kindergarten, so this was something that I saw on a daily basis, especially at the very beginning of class and, or I'm sorry, school, and then of course parents as well. So not only was I helping students, but I was helping reassure parents. So the story about Nathan and how I was able to connect to him is he was just a little bit worried about, coming to school, and then maybe at the end of the day, he was a little bit worried, maybe mom or dad or my grandma, maybe they're going to be behind and they can't get me on time, those kind of
Does
things.
that surprise anyone that I work with at the Tlpdc that mom might have been running a little behind every now and then?
And that is fine. And that is fine. And I knew that it was really, and Mitzi, add in details to the story because you have a different perspective than I do. But I knew that was really bothering him. And one day, Mitzi talked to me about just a little bit about his anxiety and things that were going through his mind as far as school ending and that kind of thing. Basically, Nathan was just wanting to know that he was safe and that everything was going to be okay. So we made a plan and we told him that if mom or dad or grandma, they're running a little bit late, no problem. You can come back. I told him he could come back to my classroom and that he could help me with tasks around my classroom. At the time, I had a rabbit named Humphrey. And I told him he could come back and he could help me feed Humphrey and take care of Humphrey, and that I would really need his help on those days if mom or dad or grandma or somebody was running just a little bit behind. And I feel like just by letting him know that and letting him know that I understood where he was and that he was safe with me, then I really feel like he was able to go ahead and move forward. And then Mitzi always tells me, yeah, he even said, kind of mentioned it's okay if you're late one day, just so that he could maybe come in and help me with Humphrey. So that's
Absolutely.
one of my very favorite stories. I don't know, Mitzi, do you have anything to add to that?
I just will say as a parent, it was so nice to know that when I had a child in kindergarten who struggled with anxiety, and now I have a child who's a junior in high school who still has some of those same struggles. And I remember talking to our pediatrician about it, and he said he will always be an anxious kid. So it's about helping him develop strategies and also helping the adults in his life, his parents, his teachers, understand ways that they can support him. And I'm just so grateful that Stephanie was that first, supportive teacher in a kindergarten environment. She took something that he was anxious about, made it into an opportunity to plan with him and, meet his needs. And then it became, please do try to be late, Mom, because I really want to play with Humphrey and be with my teacher in her classroom. So it made all the difference in the world, and we'll always be grateful for that.
Thank you, Mitzi. I love that story. It's one of my favorites, and I know that it was when I was teaching kindergarten. But if you think about it, young children and college children still want to feel that safety net. They want to feel secure and they want to feel heard and they want to feel like they belong. So that's why I love that story. And just, socially connecting with them is so, so important.
Absolutely.
The next condition for well-being is mindfulness and stress reduction. So it's, of course, shown to improve memory and testing performance, reduce stress levels, and foster better physical health. So one of the very favorite things that we did when I was at the Child Development Research Center and we were in class with our lab students is brain breaks. So just sitting there, sometimes they just need to get up and move. So like allow for short periods of movements. So we would get up and we would have them stretch, and then we would say, okay, write your name with your right hand, and then now write your name in the air with your left hand. And so that kind of woke up their brain, and they were like, oh, and just so they can breathe. They're getting oxygen to their brain. Their brain is having to work extra hard to think about writing with the opposite hand. So those are just some fun things to do. I know that we don't always have a lot of time, and we want to get our everything that we need to teach out there on a timely manner, but even just a quick, quick brain break it does a lot of good. I mean, because I would be sitting in the class sometimes when Cindy would be teaching. Cindy was the assistant director at the Child Development Research Center, and just getting myself as an adult getting up and doing that really made a huge difference. So I know that it does work. Also, letting them have maybe like some fidgets. I mean, we provided fidgets and Play-Doh. Right now, we have to be really careful with that. But even just saying, hey, if you have a fidget and you want to get it out and play with it, or you have some Play-Doh and you want to build a snowman, or whatever you want to do on your desk, keep you, kind of going and your brain awake, but you're listening, it really does work. I mean, it was really exciting to see college students doing those things and retaining everything that we were discussing in class. Another condition for well-being is like collaborative discussion of other interactions during discussions of other interactions during instruction. So like letting them talk to each other, collaborating on ideas that they have, experiences that they've had, incorporating a mindfulness minute at the beginning of class before exam. So let them sit, breathe, maybe play some relaxing music, just all those kind of things to kind of set them up for success, maybe before a test or just before class, whatever you would like to do. One easy thing to do is incorporate resources for mindfulness on campus. Include, and we're going to talk a little bit more about your syllabus and like a syllabus statement, but incorporating all the resources that's on campus, like the Student Counseling Center, RISE, us, send them our way. We would love to visit with them. The TAL, the therapy assistance online through the Student Counseling Center, that's really neat. I don't know if you've been on their website, but it's really neat to take a look at. So just making sure that they have resources, that they know that they can ask for help, that there's places they can go to ask for help. And then, like we've already talked about, like talk about mental health and normalize the topic. Just like you would talk about anything else, just, letting them know that it's real and we all go through it and that's okay. But we have resources for you and I'm here to help you if you need help. The next condition for well-being is growth mindset. So students' mindsets can influence how they react to stressful situations, failures, and challenges. Having a growth mindset is associated with more adaptive coping and learning strategies after failure. So just like I made a big mistake, I couldn't get the sound to work. Teach students how to use mistakes and failures to their advantages. So we figured it out, we worked through it, we talked it out, and I was nervous. Technology is not my strong suit. But look, we figured it out. And so like normalize it, let them see that you make mistakes. We all do. And then show them how to use those mistakes to learn and what they can do differently or learn together. That's what's awesome about it. One thing I really like is focusing less on competition and performance and more on learning and mastery. A lot of times I think there is a lot of competition, and I think that if we could just focus more on like just learning the content, mastering the content, working together instead of trying to be so competitive is something to really embed in your classroom. One of the ideas is to allow students to like retake exams or parts of exams to learn from their mistakes. I know I wish I would have had that opportunity in college, because sometimes you would just get it back and that's not the answer. No, wrong, and this is what you made. And then I wish that somebody would have said, hey, let's like go over this. Like, what happened? Like, what are you not understanding? And that kind of thing. And I know there might not always be time for that, but if you see that it's common throughout the whole classroom on that certain test or quiz or whatever, maybe you can just like rethink it and say, hey, let's go back and take a look at this and let's talk about it. Let me know what you were thinking and what was going on there. Another idea is to have students take exams both individually and in groups, or like a mixture of both. I know that exams are a time where students are having a lot of anxiety. I know I did as a college student. And I think that it's important that they take individual tests because we want to know where everybody's at and how they're doing. But then sometimes, like letting them take a test in a group. I know that I always felt more confident when I had somebody else to bounce my ideas off. Hey, is this what you're thinking? Well, this is what I'm thinking. Oh, okay, you're thinking differently. I see now. It's just a collaboration effort, and I really like that idea. And those kind of things. But like I said, you're the expert of your classroom. These are just ideas and things that you can think about doing in your classroom.
And Stephanie, Jo in the chat has shared that she uses group exams. Jo, would you mind kind of telling people a bit about how you structure those, or if it's—
Oh, I would love to know that.
Yeah. In fact, I picked it up from a Tlpdc session 2 or 3 years ago. The class that I use it mostly in is my PR for nonprofits class. And sometimes I have like 70 students in there. So they have teams. They do group work the entire semester. But these group exams, they come into class. This is back, when we're face to face, which I'll be back in June. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But they come in and I give them a scenario, something to do with nonprofit management or PR, or here's a crisis situation, how would you handle it? And then they can use their books, they can use whatever, but by the end of the period, they have to have that exam emailed to me. And it works really well. It's fast, because in PR, you got to be fast. You got to be flexible.
And I love the idea that it's such a real world opportunity. Collaborative work will be part of their life.
Yeah,
definitely.
And they, their biggest questions to me is, what's going to be on the test? How are we going to study? And I said, just make sure that you understand that we've been talking about, donors. And, so they know kind of the concept of, and usually in the semester I did 3 of those. And they're fine.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Jo. I love that. I love knowing that that's already happening out there, and that it does work. Thank you for sharing. The next condition for well-being is resilience. So it's shown to show the ability to recover from stress despite challenging life events that otherwise would overwhelm a person's normal ability to cope with stress. So talk about times that you failed and how you worked through those failures, like humanize yourself, use exams and other assignments as teaching tools, kind of like what we've been talking about. Go over the exam, talk about the common struggle, what these mistakes mean for thinking and learning, and how they can connect to new learning. That's always a big one. And also just being optimistic about how students are doing in your class. That's something really small that you can do, but something simple. My next slide is Dr. Sarah Brinker. I'm very excited about her video. We had asked her several questions, and you'll be able to see the questions that we asked her on the video. And she is letting us know how she implements some of these conditions and how she embeds them in her classes, both virtually and physically. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. Hopefully we can hear this time.
My name is Dr. Sarah Brinker, and I am an instructor in the School of Music, and I teach a few different classes there. I teach NUSI 1300, Creating the Critical Listener. I teach a course called Music and Globalization for non-majors. I'm also the music minor coordinator, so I get to see a lot of non-majors. I teach in the Honors College, where I teach a couple seminars on popular music and world music. And then I teach a graduate music history review. So that's kind of the courses that I teach at the School of Music. I definitely try to find easy ways, not just easy for me, but also easy for the students to find points of connection, because I believe that all good teaching has a foundation of relationship. I think that without relationship, it's very difficult for learning to occur, because when you build relationship, what you're doing is you're building trust and you're building a sense of safety. But I mean safety in terms of I feel comfortable taking a risk. I feel comfortable raising my hand and putting myself out there, because that takes a certain sense of vulnerability. And, you know, if we don't have good rapport with one another, then it's going to be difficult for learning to take place, or it might be more difficult to go as far as you could have if you don't have that rapport. I do before the semester even begins is I write, especially now since my courses are online, a welcome letter. I use an e-newsletter app, and I include a welcome video of myself, because since they're not going to be meeting me in person, I want them to see my face, hear my voice. You know, I'm a real person. I'm acknowledging that you're a real person, you know, that kind of thing. And so I send out a welcome email before the semester starts that just says, hi, you know, I'm going to be your professor for the semester. Here are some things that you can expect. Make sure you've got your books. Here's the syllabus, that kind of thing. In the first week, I have my students fill out what I call a student inventory, and it's really just a Google form. I just tell them, hey, this is, you know, a form that I'm asking you to fill out. It's important for me to know who I'm teaching, because when I know who I'm teaching, it helps me find points of connection, and I like to know who my students are. So the student inventory is just a Google form that I make, and I ask for their name, and I ask them things like, how many hours are you taking? Do you have small children at home? Are you taking care of anyone? Do you work outside of class? What are some things that I should know about you? So I ask for that information, and then I ask kind of a few just fun questions. I teach in the School of Music, so I ask them, what are some of your favorite bands? What are some of your favorite songs? And I also ask them, just because every once in a while I'm able to find a trend, you know, like I find out that a lot of them like the game Among Us or something like that, and maybe I can turn that into a game. I can make an interactive assignment that leverages the format of Among Us, like look at these composers, who's the imposter, you know, something like that. So tying it into my course material, but using something in pop culture that I know is popular with them. And I think they just appreciate that I make an effort to find out, you know, like kind of what's their vibe as a class. The other thing I do, since I've asked for their favorite bands or songs, is I have like a class playlist that I make from my student inventory. In the minutes leading up to our Zoom class, it can be kind of awkward to just sit there and it's, you know, quiet and people's cameras are off. So I'll take one of the songs that they recommended and have us listen to one of the songs that they recommended. And I let them know I'm going to do that. And I just work my way through the class, so that by the end of the semester, we've gotten to listen to everybody's, you know, favorite band. If I were teaching in person, then I would just play the music as people are walking into the classroom, because it just is a conversation starter. So, you know, someone will say like, oh, that's, you know, oh, that's artist, or that's a, you know, that's a sick track, or what are they saying now? Hold on 1 minute. That slaps. And then the other thing that I do on Zoom, because of that, there's that awkward period before class starts, I'll put in the chat, I'll put a fun this or that. So I'll put coffee or tea or something like that, something that everybody has an opinion on, you know, or two characters from a film, or something like that, something that's not really controversial, but that everybody has an opinion about. A few weeks into every semester, I send another Google form out and I say, what's working, what's not working? what are some things that help you learn that we're doing, and what are some things you wish were different? And so I did this last semester in a class that I was teaching for the first time, and it was so helpful because I had never taught that course. So I'm teaching it, so I don't know what it's like to experience that from their side. And they all told me, this is a lot of work. I'm spending, this many hours on these assignments, and I didn't want them to spend that many hours on an assignment. When the entire class is saying, this is a lot and we're drowning, then I can say, oh, wow, and I'm not, above that. Everybody, can be better. And so when I get feedback from my entire class, then you can go back to your students and say, hey, I read through your feedback. I hear you. And sometimes people just need to, know that they're being heard and just have it acknowledged. So I'm not even saying that you need to change anything. It could just be that you come back and say, I am seeing and I hear you guys are saying that this reading feels overwhelming. And I hear that. Let me give you some strategies to make your to streamline your studying or help you structure your studying so that maybe it doesn't feel so overwhelming. There's a lot of apps that are really helpful in building community, particularly online, with everything. And one of them is Flipgrid, because Flipgrid allows, students to record videos of themselves. And so that I really think really helps establish a sense of community, since people are talking to one another, but they're able to see each other's face and also hear tone and inflection. And the other thing I like to use Flipgrid for, I teach multicultural courses. And so there's students from all different backgrounds, and so I always ask students to, in their introductory video, pronounce their name for me, because that's very important. There are a lot of students whose names might be difficult to pronounce. And so I think it's really important to take the time to listen to that pronunciation and to get it right. So I really value something like Flipgrid, where I can hear the student in their own voice say their name. And that way I know that I can address that person by their name, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's actually a huge deal when you are able to not just say, yeah, you over there, what do you think? And instead, acknowledge them as a person. And so I always, whether it's in person or online, asking your students to refer to one another by name. And so, on Flipgrid, it'll have their name on their post. And so I always, when I'm giving them instructions, I say, when you respond to your classmate, make sure you say, I really agree with what Elizabeth said, or whatever, and taking the time to recognize who that person is really important. It's great on Zoom because Zoom, students have their name, so that makes it super easy to call them by name. But even in an in-person class, you can get a piece of paper and fold it this way and hang it on the desk and write their name really big on the front and the back, so that the people behind them can also see that person's name. And then you can do the same thing, where you're able to, reference and respond to one another by name. And it's one of the easiest things that we can do to establish rapport, is to simply refer to students by their names. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was I love Dr. Brinker and all the things that she's doing. And I do realize that we're running short on time. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the last couple of conditions for well-being, and that's gratitude. So just showing students how to express gratitude by sharing things in your life which you're grateful for. Maybe have students write a letter to someone who has made them feel grateful. Be optimistic, focus on the positive more than the negative, because we all need that right now, I know. When going over an assignment or exam, focus on what the students did correctly before addressing their mistakes. I think that really helps them feel like, you know what, I can be who I am here and it is okay. And that, that you're human, I'm human, we're all in this together. Conditions for well-being, inclusivity, this is a really big one. Just making sure that students' needs are being met when it comes to like seating, audio visual equipment, note-taking, test-taking, maybe using inclusive language and gender-neutral pronouns, providing resource information in your syllabus or somewhere else, and I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Please talk about mental health and well-being and normalize it. Create a safe place. I just can't emphasize that enough. Students do so well when they feel safe and heard. Maybe record lectures for students to access later. Oh my gosh, I would have loved to have had that. You know, especially like with math, because I was awful at that. And, you know, just going back, my daughter, Brianne, really quick, has auto processing disorder and dyslexia. She's called me crying because professors will not really work with her, although they need to. And then she's called me because she's like, Mom, this is what this professor did. And she was so excited about how that professor really acknowledged her and her needs and what that professor did for her. So it does make a difference. It really, really does in students' lives. Creating effective learning environments allow students to respond in different ways, online or in class, kind of like Dr. Brinker was talking about. Maybe rather than using like high-stake exams or projects, like break up student learning and give them different opportunities to take quizzes, assignments, and projects and not make it something, just one big project that's going to be your whole grade. Be consistent and structured, like send out assignments as a designated day and time each week. Be flexible. Just give them some more time for learning and to finish their assignments in class early or on time. Students need that break. They need that mental break from one thing to the other. So make sure that you're ending your classes on time or a little bit early. And this is a really big one. So if there's one big takeaway, this is the one that I want you to take away the most. So one simple way to help is a lot of times you're the only professional on campus that that they may interact with. And so even just including a simple syllabus statement in your syllabus to let them know that this is what you know, and that that you understand that like being a college student is hard and it presents a lot of challenges, and you might be overwhelmed or having feelings of anxiety or stress. So if you are having those things, this is what you can do. So this is just an example of a syllabus statement, and that can be incorporated into your syllabi. Let's see here. These were just, I know that Dr. Brinker went over this, but I really love everything that she uses, her newsletters. She has a weekly meditation that is so cool. And there's apps for this. Actually, I just downloaded one on my app, on my phone, and I'm excited to use it. So like a guided meditation. Some other things that she did is, if you are struggling, contact Dr. Brinker or your TA and set up a musical analysis tutorial session. Let them know that you're available for them. Like, hey, we're here. Just let us know. And here's a musical example of the week, and just all the different things. And then her information, that's so important. I love her picture, and then all the different ways that you can contact her. And then I know that we're going over a little bit. I did want to read really quick a letter from Kaylee that she wrote me, and I promise I'll make it really quick, and I understand if you have to go. But Kaylee is a student that I had at the Child Development Research Center. I knew I made an impact on students, but I didn't know how greatly I made an impact on students. And I have several letters, but I just chose one to read. So Kaylee was a student. I had her for about 2 years, and so I'm going to try not to cry, but I just want to read this really quickly. And I promise this is almost over. Dear Stephanie, oh, how you are loved. You have spent so much of the last 2 years lifting me up, so I think it's time I return the favor. Because of you, I have learned that a child is like a tree. And if it is not watered and nurtured or loved, it will wither and die. However, I've also learned about my own roots and foundations. I have learned more about the body, how strong it can be, and how the mind will always be weaker. Thank you for always teaching us to abandon that notion. You have taught us so much more about love, to share our hands when we teach children, when children need to be held, and have ears when they need to be heard, and our eyes when they need to be seen. Sometimes we all just need to be seen, but most of all, I hope you are reminded of how strong you are, strong in your values and your determination to uphold them. You inspire me and so many others. I truly believe the world becomes so much brighter when people champion one another. Thank you for always cheering me on. The world would be so much less without you in it. I am so thankful the Lord allowed our worlds to collide. Thank you for setting a tone of strength and bravery. I love you, Lubbock Mama. She called me her Lubbock Mama. Keep in touch. And that right there says it all. The things that I've done as a teacher, that the well-being that I've embedded when teaching and in my classroom, I feel like that says it all through Kaylee's letter. Quickly, just one more time, I'm with RISE. Please send students our way. Our mission is to empower Texas Tech students to live vital, meaningful lives. These are our dimensions of wellness, so we try to reach all dimensions. We have lots of workshops and topic areas. Right here, so many: alcohol and other drugs, suicide, stress management. Please send students our way if you are seeing that they need help. And then, of course, here's our website, social media, and our email information. Let me know if you have any questions or you need anything, or you're concerned about a student, just let us know. And then my last slides are just the references on this PowerPoint.
Stephanie, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this important and timely information and giving us such great ideas. And just a very quick plug for RISE. I think right now they're looking for peer educators.
Yes.
And I've had student peer educators come and speak to my Raider Ready class. Students learn really well from other students, and this is such a good opportunity for our own students to become empowered as mentors and then to go out and train other students. So if you know students who might do that well, you might refer them also to the RISE department.
Yes.
Thank you,
Mitzi. And then one last thing, we've made a really neat book with all this information in it. So I will be getting that out to you if you're interested, and also a little card, a table card, a little tent card, and it's responding to students in distress and ideas and things that you can say if you're seeing a student that might need a little bit of help. Just a little one simple sentence to kind of get you started and engaged in that conversation. So I will send that through MailStop to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Stephanie, we hope to partner with you all again to foster student success.